Is this forbidden watercolor technique worth it?
To add white or not to add white?
That's what we're chatting about in today's beginner-friendly tutorial. Welcome back. My name is Shayda Campbell. So friends, have you ever heard that mixing white into watercolor is a big no-no? Yeah, it's widely believed that in order to lighten your colors, you should only add water. Let's unpack that today. I want to talk about why I break the rules and what it is about adding white that really makes my style work. I've got 3 main points to break down, and the last one might surprise you. Number 1, you are changing the nature of the medium. So watercolor paint should be thinned with water in order to lighten your colors and not mixed with white paint. White paint is more like gouache, and that means that you're breaking the rules when you use it. So what I'm going to do here is paint this pansy twice. Now the one I'm working on, the first one, I have created a nice warm light purple. I mixed rose madder hue with ultramarine, and I just lightened using only water. Same thing for the dark purple. I have mixed in more pigment, more rose madder hue, more ultramarine to really darken, but it is just water, no white mixed in. And then over here, what I'm gonna do is mix that same mix, but add white. So rose madder hue and ultramarine, but with lots of white. And I love the way I get kind of more of a graphic look. That's a very Shayda look, that pastel-y nature. It's a little more opaque. Now for the green, I still did not mix in water, so that's worth saying. Adding water to green can give it an unnatural look. It's too pastel. So that's an important note. Even though I love mixing white into my colors to lighten, I don't always use white. I haven't for the green. I don't think I added much for the darker purple, but let's take a look at when it's all finished. The one on the left, I've used only water to mix, and the one on the right, I've used some white. And so I really love the way the one on the right looks. That looks very Shayda. It's graphic. It has more of a pastel look. It's a little more opaque. Some people would say that's what's bad about it. It's too opaque. But remember, rules are really just guidelines, and every decision you make informs your personal style. As we move along, try to think about what you're drawn to and how you might incorporate that style into your art. Speaking of moving along, our second point is that when you add white, you lose transparency. And watercolor is really prized for its transparency and glow. And when you add white pigment, it makes it more opaque, which we talked about, and that supposedly will ruin the glowing effect. But, to be honest, I really love the creamy, soft look that white pigment gives when you mix it with colors. It creates a different kind of beauty, and to me, it's one that feels a little more graphic and cool, and dare I even say maybe a little bit more modern or of the moment, especially considering that I love to do a lot of mixed media. So again, here on the left, you can see me creating a peach where I've only added watercolor to the orange and the red, and then on the right I have added white. Now I think with the peach, especially the inner part, you can really see the glow that I'm talking about when you only add water. The paper you can see the paper through the paint, and that adds to that glowing effect. But I really love the creamy look of the more opaque peach on the right, and I am doing a little bit of shading on both, but even as you shade, you can still see the paper through on the left. And here we'll add a little shadow. This is a great example of what I'm talking about. I've added just a hint of Payne's gray into the water to create the shadow on the left, and then I'm going to add white into that gray mix for the shadow on the right. It is going to be more opaque, and I think it's worth asking the question, is that more opaque gray really good for a shadow? Depends on the painting, of course, but I like to break the rules, but I don't need to break them all the time. So sometimes I do prefer to mix only with white or only with water. And for the peach, I actually love how creamy and opaque it is, but for the shadow, I prefer the luminosity. Okay, let's move along to my third and I think most important point.
You know how some people have a signature scent? I was definitely one of those people because I've been wearing the same perfume for almost 20 years. I couldn't even smell it anymore. Well, I want to thank Scentbird for shaking up my routine.
And thank you to Scentbird for sponsoring today's video. Scentbird is a monthly fragrance subscription where you can try designer and niche scents without committing to a full-size bottle. It's perfect for fragrance lovers and total beginners, and your first month is just $8. After that, it's less than $17. With Scentbird, you'll get this sleek, twist-up case that's small enough for a handbag or even a pocket, and they give you a 30-day supply so you have enough time to really experience a fragrance before deciding if it's the one. This month I tried 3. First up is the Light by Nay. This scent feels uplifting, it's airy and joyful with notes of tangerine, rhubarb, and cinnamon. Secondly, I tried Floriste by Florette Parfum. This one is pure calm to me. It smells like walking into a little flower shop, like fresh blooms, a little bit sweet, grounded with wood notes. And finally, I have Lost and Found by Noise. It's fresh and clean, little soft citrus and floral mix that kind of lingers. With over 900 fragrances to choose from Prada to Parfum de Marly, there's always something new to discover. Their quiz is actually great at matching scents to your taste, and it's a fun way to break out of that fragrance fatigue.
If you want to mix up your scent game, scan the QR code or click the link below. Use my code Shayda for 55% off. That's just $8 a month, plus free delivery and a free case. Scentbird is currently available in Canada and the US.
Okay, point number 3, my final point is that you gotta keep that paper white for the highlights instead of painting over with colors. So in the purist tradition, like the classic approach is that any light area, especially a white area, that needs to be paper. You need to see the paper through the paint, and that will be your highlight, your lightest area. So you're always thinking when you begin about where those highlights are going to be, and you always go from light to dark with watercolors. Now, I think my take on this might surprise you a little because I actually have been known to teach this hack, and that is that you simply can add watercolor gouache when you need to add those little mist highlights back in. But I also think there's something really beautiful about letting the page show through. So I know it's a bit annoying. I like both, but as I've been saying through the video, what I really want to show with this tutorial is that there's a time and a place for both, especially if you consider yourself a rule breaker like me, and knowing when you want to do what is so important. So I've chosen a teacup with liquid with tea in it for this example, and I think it makes a really good example. For this one, you can see I've used really light watery gray and the page is showing through. I've lifted on the tea to get those highlights. Everything's really natural. Come over to the right and I've used a bit of a heavier gray gouache mix for the teacup, and then I've just filled in the tea in its entirety. Now when I start adding some beautiful blue floral designs on the teacup, this would be a very classic Shayda painting. I think it's quite obvious how nice the teacup is presenting. It looks luminous and light the way white porcelain would, but I don't know that I love the way I did the highlights on the liquid. And you'll see as we move on to the example on the right, the porcelain, the cup, it looks a little heavier. It's not necessarily bad. And then I'm also going to mix white into the blue. So I'm using ultramarine with a little Payne's gray because it's a blue gray, and then a bit of white. So I'm getting a much duller, more opaque blue. That's a good thing, I think, because it matches the sort of opaque look of the cup. But yeah, I don't love the way the cup turned out. It doesn't have the delicacy that the one on the left does. However, I really like the liquid on the right, just using brown and then coming in with my Shayda hack, my cheat, which is to use white gouache. And because gouache is a watercolor medium that is highly opaque, you just squeeze it out, you put a little water in there so it should be liquid consistency. It will still be opaque. You can use it on top of your watercolors to achieve these little highlights. So again, if we're not in that purist tradition and we are okay with using rules as more guidelines, then I really like using gouache. It's sometimes a nice way to add a really natural highlight on water or liquid or whatever. Okay, friends, that's my breakdown of the forbidden watercolor technique of adding white to lighten your colors. What do you think? Is this something that you do? Are you just starting to incorporate it because you're now feeling free? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching today, friends. Head to Patreon to get a worksheet showing you how to paint that peach, and check the video description and use my code Shayda to get 50% off your first Scentbird order.